in DRC, and with me is Professor Noah Midimba. He is the Defense and Foreign Policy Expert, Senior Associate at the Global Center for Policy and Strategy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Fatia.
Right, let's just start off with, give us a bit of a background of the DRC conflict. It's a country that has a population of 81.5 million people.
Correct.
So why are they still in conflict up until now?
Before I do that, let me give you the global picture. Okay. There's a lot of questions. Why is Kenya involved? Why the East African countries involved in Congo? And then you talk about the historical issues regarding Congo.
Right.
Kenya is the largest economy in East and Central Africa. It is the largest military readiness also in East and Central Africa, based on what is called global firepower. And Kenya has been known in the past as a reluctant leader, regional leader, because South Africa is basically controlled by South Africa, West Africa is Nigeria, and North Africa is Egypt.
Right.
But Kenya is now, under particularly the second term of President Uhuru, came out blazing in the regional leadership, including Africa, and also global leadership. And so it is a very, very beautiful thing to see in the transition that President Ruto has appointed President Uhuru to be the African global leader.
Right.
And with President Obasanjo in West Africa, we are now looking at a very vibrant leadership. Several issues regarding DRC Congo. DRC Congo is probably one of the richest countries in the world. The resource base in DRC Congo, for our audience to understand, is estimated at $23 trillion. Now, when you look at the most powerful country in the world, US, where I lived for the last 40 years, the US has $25 trillion gross domestic product, Russia 17, China 17, and Russia has only $2 trillion.
Right.
Now, when all that resource put together is managed properly, then you're looking at East Africa, combined East Africa, which DRC now join us, will become one of the most zone in the continent of Africa.
Right.
From 1994, beginning with Rwanda's crisis, massive refugees pour into the eastern Congo, called Kivu. And over years, they have settled there. And this is the richest zone of the Republic of Congo. Now, what has happened is countries like Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda has gone in with their own national interest. And they're benefiting economically out of this area.
Right.
And so now we're talking about resurgence of M23, because M23 has played a very active role, first in overthrowing Mobutu Sese Seko, installing the president of Uganda, and also installing the president of Burundi. And now they go back and forth. But the current situation we're looking at is an economic interest.
Right.
To give you, for example, Uganda is the largest gold exporter in the area. Uganda produces very little gold. And so most of it is coming from the Kivu area, the North Congo.
Right. Are you then saying that this conflict is a natural-based conflict? Because like you had said, the area, Congo has gold, diamonds, cobalt. So is it basically based on natural-based conflict because of their resources?
It is an economic-based conflict.
Right.
Where the three countries, Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda, have caved their own interest and continue to exploit the area. And the latest conflict really is linked at the base of a conflict between Uganda and Rwanda, who are going after each other in order to have the best of the economic interest in the area.
Maybe for the audience to understand, who are the M23 rebel group and what is their aim of having this rebel group?
M23 emerged out of the refugees that moved to in 1994, that went there, and basically they formed a cartel of fighters funded by various interest groups, including external funders. But basically they have become a real force that is taxing the people in that area, controlling them, and also exporting goods and services, gold and everything out of there. So it is a well-established group of people, and in it, it's a very complex for our people to understand.
Yeah.
There is a group within that group who are interested to overthrow the government Burundi. There is a group within that group that are interested in overthrowing the government of Rwanda, and also the government of Uganda, and also controlling the DRC Congo government.
Is that the reason why there's a push and pull between Rwanda and Congo? Because there's a bit of blame game. Rwanda is blaming Congo that they are backing the democratic forces for the liberation of Rwanda, and on the other hand, DRC is blaming Rwanda. So is that the reason why there's a push and pull between these two countries?
There is no question about it.
Right.
There is what we need to really understand, and I'll get to the solution. The solution is we have to find room for M23 within the government of Rwanda, within Uganda, within Burundi, and largely within Congo. So the discussion President Uhuru is having is critical.
Right.
Now, you cannot have heads of states of East Africa meet and say we are now going to have military and then we are going to control M23. That will not work.
But then
the solution is diplomacy. And so military is to reinforce what has been agreed on. And M23 must be part and parcel of that resolution.
Do you think that's possible? I mean, because it's considered a rebel group. Of course, they have interests in different countries, but are you saying that they should be brought onto the table for a negotiating process for that diplomacy to end?
You know, some people, I will argue that we can talk to rebel groups. But you must understand that the root has grown too deep into the area, and so ordinary people are not isolated from the conflict. They are part of the intelligence gathering and information system, a much more complex situation, and they're waiting for a buyer. The worst thing that can happen here is the Wagner Group moving from Central West Africa into the area. And then we have a really big mess on our hand.
Let's talk about Uganda now. I mean, Uganda and DRC at some point began a joint military operation in North Kivu to hunt down the Allied Democratic Forces. That was an Islamic insurgency force that, you know, at that time President Yoweri Museveni had said is what led to the Kampala bombings at that particular time. What is the deal between Uganda and DRC?
Uganda and DRC of late have made an arrangement. There was an arrangement that was made by DRC with Uganda, with Rwanda, with Burundi, to allow them, to allow this group separately and with the DRC supervision to control their what you call sphere of interest. What has happened, Uganda went ahead and deployed, their military. So Burundi in South Kivu also went ahead and deployed their military, except Rwanda did not go in. Now, so Rwanda is claiming that Uganda is extorting, basically taking the interest where Rwanda need to be, and therefore that then become the very serious, difficult relationship between Rwanda and
DRC.
And DRC.
Let's talk about the DRC just recently joined the East African community. What does it mean for DRC as a country, and what does it mean for the East African community?
This, I sit on the University Council of East Africa. I'm an executive member. For the first time, the meaning of Pan-Africa is coming together. There was, in the beginning, the people like Jamal Abdel Nasser, people like Nkrumah, people like Jomo Kenyatta, people like Tom Mboya wanted United States of Africa. Because that is the only way we are going to deal with the outside world from strength standpoint. But Julius Nyerere argued that we need to do it from a regional standpoint. And I, one of the scholars who concur with Julius Nyerere, that maybe we were biting too much after all the colonial government left. There was a serious division among Africa. Now, East Africa is coming together. For the first time, everyone is going to have a passport which say East Africa, Kenya, or East Africa, DRC, or East Africa, Uganda. Now, think about the kind of market we are going to have. If DRC can settle, the well-governed, and now join the East Africa community as a member, and then South Sudan settle, such that they can pay their dues and everything, and Rwanda settle. Then Kenya will have a huge market. Kenya economy can expand leaps and bounds. Our banking system, our export within ourselves, within the East Africa community. DRC will have the same thing.
Right.
And so we will have ability of one of the most powerful in terms of economy, militarily, in Africa. And therefore we can deal with America in much more equal basis as far as agreement, everything, and China and Russia and everybody else.
Now that you've mentioned the Western countries, do you think they have an influence, or basically in the conflict that's happening, do they have an influence on the DRC conflict?
There is, the rest of the world is looking at DRC. Let me say cobalt, which is used for
electronics,
for electronic and everything. DRC is the world producer.
70%.
70%. And therefore, anybody from General Motors to Toyota to all the car manufacturer to everybody else are looking at a piece of DRC. And therefore, if we are able now to control that situation and trade with each other and have governors, governors in this area need to be developed. They need to be hospital, a dispensary. There need to be road system. There need to be school, education, and everything in the area. If we can be able to do that, so that the Congo government can be able to control itself and its resources, we're looking at a very prosperous future for all of us in East Africa.
Finally, I just want us now to just go back to the peace process that's currently happening. Where are we now with the peace process, now that even the former President Uhuru Kenyatta was seen in Goma yesterday? Where are we with that process?
Let's talk about what this peace process means to the ordinary person, and also to the East Africa as a whole.
Right.
There is a real serious potential that will involve the interstate war if this peace process does not work. East Africa community started during colonial days and fall apart because of various countries' interest. We revive it and now is moving forward to have 8-country system. And if we can be able to have Uganda, to have Rwanda, to have Burundi, working together with the entire East Africa community, with DRC, then the entire area in terms of education, healthcare, everything will emerge. Now, the problem is internal forces as well as external forces. Interests, individual interests, country interests, those who think that they will lose out, okay, will continue interest to fight. For instance, Uganda is producing the largest gold, and if you cut off North Kivu, then where's Uganda going to get its gold? Right. So we must find harmony that will allow Uganda and Uganda technicians to go in there and work with DRC Congo to process the material, and also have Rwanda doing the same thing, and have Burundi doing the same thing under supervision of DRC Congo. President Uhuru just talked about sovereign of state. Right. Sovereign of state is what makes a country a state. And that has to be completely respected. And so there has to be a transition where Uganda continue to work in there, Rwanda continue to do the same thing, and Burundi, and then given 1 to 2, 3, 4 years, they have to really come out. Such that Congolese, DRC Congo can then take control of itself.
Right.
That has to happen.
Okay.
So the troops that we have now is key. The East Africa standby troops is key, and that need to be continued to be improved, such that the East Africa community can have a quick recovery troops that can go in and quell any problem within the East African zone.
Right,
and
thank
if
you so
we are
much,
able, and if Kenya is a testimony, if they become like the Kenya Army and Kenya Air Force and Kenya Navy, then we can be able to protect ourselves within the East Africa, just like NATO is able to protect Europe.
Definitely. I think that's a very good place to end. It's a way of protecting ourselves. That was Professor Noah Midamba.